Most men today are aging, but not growing. They look like adults, talk like adults, work, pay bills, carry responsibilities. But inside, they're still stuck, still unsure, still waiting for something to begin, as if manhood is a door someone else is supposed to open for them. Carl Jung believed that the journey to become a man isn't biological, it's psychological. A man isn't born by turning 18 or getting a job or having a child. He becomes one when he confronts the parts of himself he's been running from. But most men never do. They avoid the confrontation. They distract themselves. They numb. They perform. And they call it strength. But it's not strength. It's survival. This is why so many men today feel lost, empty, or quietly angry. Not because they're weak, but because they've been trained to be performers, not builders. They perform success, perform confidence, perform control. But under the surface, there's confusion, fear, even shame. Shame that they're not who they thought they'd be by now. Shame that they're not leading, just reacting. Shame that they don't know what being a man really means. Jung saw this as a crisis of the self. He called it a disconnect between the ego and the shadow. The ego says, "I'm strong, I'm in control." But the shadow knows the truth. It whispers late at night, "You're still afraid. You still want someone to tell you who to be. You still don't trust yourself." And the longer a man avoids his shadow, the more he becomes a stranger to himself. He doesn't evolve. He adapts. He survives in a world he was supposed to shape. The world doesn't teach boys how to become men. It teaches them how to perform masculinity, like it's a costume. Be tough. Don't cry. Get stronger. But nobody teaches them how to face pain, how to sit with fear, how to carry doubt without letting it destroy them. Instead, boys grow up learning how to suppress, how to hide weakness, how to compete, dominate, win. Not because they understand power, but because they're terrified of being seen as soft, vulnerable, uncertain. Jung believed that when a child is not guided towards self-awareness, he builds an ego that protects him, not an identity that defines him. That ego becomes a shield. But shields block light as well as danger. And in the dark, the boy never really grows. He just adapts to survive in a world that doesn't allow softness. And so we get men who are loud, but insecure, confident, but hollow, assertive, but emotionally numb. They know how to win arguments, but not how to speak truth. They know how to chase, but not how to stay. They can fight, but they have no idea what's worth fighting for. This is the hidden epidemic of the modern man. He looks alive on the outside, but inside, he's disconnected from his values, from his instincts, from his own heart. And no one sees it, because he's so good at hiding it. Because the world told him that the moment he shows weakness, he'll lose everything. So he stays silent. He keeps performing, and the shadow gets heavier. But here's the thing Jung warned us about. A man who carries his shadow without facing it will eventually collapse under its weight. There comes a moment in almost every man's life where the silence becomes unbearable. It's not the silence around him, it's the one inside. The silence between who he is and who he was supposed to become. The longer he pretends, the louder that silence grows. It doesn't shout. It whispers, constantly. You're not living. You're hiding. You're not choosing. You're reacting. You're not a man. You're a mask. And most men don't know what to do with that voice, because they were never taught how to face themselves, only how to escape. Through work, through success, through women, through distraction. They collect accomplishments like armor, hoping something will make them feel whole. But Jung warned that nothing external can fix an internal fracture. A man disconnected from his inner world becomes a prisoner to his outer one. He moves through life achieving, but never arriving. Wanting more, but never knowing why. He's praised for his drive, but he's dying from his doubt. That's why so many men feel exhausted, not from doing too much, but from carrying too much that isn't theirs. Expectations, projections, scripts. They've been told what a man should be for so long, they never ask who they are. This dissonance creates tension, and that tension builds, until one day it erupts in anger, addiction, collapse, or quiet surrender. That's the breaking point, or the beginning. Because some men, the ones who are ready, use the breakdown as a doorway. They stop running. They stop pretending. They turn inward and ask the hardest question of all. What if everything I thought made me a man was a lie? And that's where transformation begins. If you're one of those men, if something in this speaks to the part of you you've been avoiding, subscribe and hit the bell. This isn't just a video, it's a mirror. Carl Jung believed that every man carries a shadow, a hidden self composed of everything he fears, denies, and represses. And the tragedy? Most men live their entire lives without ever facing it. They hide behind success, charm, humor, anger. But the shadow doesn't care what mask you wear. It doesn't go away. It waits, quietly. It watches you lie to yourself. It watches you break promises to yourself. And it feeds off your fear of being exposed, of being judged, of being truly seen. Jung didn't say the shadow was evil. He said it was powerful. Unused power, untapped energy. The part of you that knows what you really want, what you truly hate, what you secretly crave. But you've buried it. Because the world told you to behave, to be acceptable, to be good. But good men often live small, anxious lives, terrified of stepping outside the box that keeps them safe, but unfulfilled. They follow rules they never agreed to, sacrifice dreams they never pursued, and they call it maturity. But it's not maturity, it's domestication. Jung taught that confronting the shadow isn't about becoming violent or selfish. It's about becoming whole. A man who has integrated his shadow doesn't act out of fear. He doesn't project his pain onto others. He doesn't chase power to feel alive. He stands firm. He speaks truth. He can walk away from validation because he's validated from within. But here's the thing. Meeting your shadow is painful. It humiliates your ego. It burns away the stories you've told yourself for years. But after the burn comes the becoming. Most men will never take that step. They'll live safe, controlled, predictable. But some will choose fire because they're done being half alive. The man who chooses to face himself walks a lonely road. There's no applause, no guidance, no finish line. Just the silence of letting go and the terror of not knowing what's on the other side. He begins to question everything, not just the world, but his own role in it. Who am I when I stop performing? What do I want when no one's watching? What pain have I been using to distract myself from the real wound? This man isn't breaking down. He's breaking open. Jung called this the process of individuation, the path of becoming whole. Not just masculine, not just successful, but fully integrated. No more hiding parts of yourself to please others. No more silencing your own voice just to be accepted. No more wearing strength like a costume while drowning inside. Individuation isn't clean. It's messy. It's slow. It's full of doubt. But it's real. And unlike performance, it doesn't fade the moment people stop clapping. A man on this path learns how to sit with pain without numbing it. How to speak truth without needing to be understood. How to walk away from noise and return to silence. Not as escape, but as home. He stops chasing what looks powerful and starts building what is powerful. Because real power isn't loud. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't need to win every argument or dominate every room. Real power is internal, still, grounded. The kind that doesn't flinch under pressure. The kind that leads without needing to be followed. Most men won't choose this path. They'll keep searching outside for what's missing inside. They'll keep performing until the curtain falls. But some, they'll stop the act, burn the script, and start writing their own. There's a quiet power in a man who has faced himself. A stillness that doesn't come from arrogance, but from understanding. He doesn't need to prove anything, because he knows who he is. And more importantly, he knows who he's not. He's no longer at war with his past, no longer chasing someone else's definition of success, no longer reacting to every insult, every challenge, every demand to perform. Because the man who has met his shadow doesn't need to play roles anymore. He's not the nice guy. He's not the alpha. He's not the leader, the lone wolf, or the provider. He's just himself, and that's more than enough. You can feel it in how he moves. He's deliberate. He doesn't rush. He listens more than he speaks. He can walk into a room and not need to be noticed, because his presence isn't based on noise. It's based on weight. The kind of weight that comes from carrying your past, burying the lies, and emerging whole. And when the world tries to test him, with chaos, with noise, with pressure, he doesn't collapse. He absorbs. He watches. He chooses his battles. And when he acts, it's never emotional. It's precise, focused, unapologetic. Jung believed that a man who has integrated his unconscious, his shadow, his pain, his fears, becomes sovereign, untouchable. Not because he's invincible, but because he's no longer afraid to be broken. He knows that failure isn't death, that discomfort isn't weakness, that being alone isn't the same as being lost. He's tasted all of it. And instead of running, he stayed. He stayed with the pain, the confusion, the silence. And in that silence, he built himself. Most men think strength is loud, that it's in how much you lift, how many people you control, how few emotions you show. But Jung knew better. He believed that real strength is internal and invisible to the world until it's needed. A man who's done the work doesn't need attention. He doesn't need to win. He doesn't need to be right. He just needs to be true to himself. And that truth doesn't shake when others doubt it. It doesn't vanish under pressure. It doesn't flinch when confronted. Because he's already faced worse. He's already faced himself. And once you've looked into your own darkness, your shame, your fear, your confusion, and didn't run, there's not much left in this world that can control you. Not money, not rejection, not failure, not love, not loneliness. That's the quiet freedom no one talks about. The moment you stop performing and start living. The moment you stop surviving and start becoming. But the choice is still yours. Because no one will force you to face your shadow. The world will let you pretend forever. And most men do. So the question is, will you stay the man they told you to be, or become the man you were meant to be? You already know the answer. But there's something else no one told you. Not about you, but about the people around you. The ones who raised you. The ones who say they love you. If you're ready to question them the way you just questioned yourself, I'll see you in the next video.